reading today from Luke chapter 6, beginning at verse 17. He came down with them and stood on a level place, with a great crowd of his disciples, and a great multitude of people from all Judea, Jerusalem, and the coast of Tyre and Sidon. Then he looked up at his disciples and said, "Blessed are the poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you, and when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you, on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven. For that is what their ancestors did to the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is what their ancestors did to the false prophets."
Well, today I'm welcoming Gillian Nelson to have a chat with me, and Gillian, we're going to talk about these rather challenging blessings and woes that Jesus talked about in his Sermon on the Plain. And they're pretty sort of direct, aren't they? This blessed are you, poor, and...
They're very direct and very challenging.
Yeah. And I was really challenged. You've just come back from 3 months in Africa, and you've got this wonderful Jesus African shepherd there. Do you have to tell us about that, or do you know who carved that? Or?
I can't remember the name of the man who carved it. It's actually part of a nativity set, and this is the shepherd. But when I saw it, for me, this is Jesus, the Good Shepherd, and not just one of the shepherds. And my father's always loved the image of the Good Shepherd carrying his sheep, and so I had to bring it back for him.
And wonderful having an African Jesus.
Yes.
And I think I was struck, you were telling us about some of the people you'd met. You've been in a theological college and teaching English and helping some of those students. I was really struck, you talked about, just hearing about the poor, we can sort of get a little bit sort of almost immune about it, but you were telling us about a student who actually was, I think it was sat on the road chopping up, gravel and things. Tell us about that.
Well, for many years, his income and the income of the family was sitting on the side of the road, breaking up by hand rocks to make gravel. And they work 18, 20 hours a day for a pittance. But he one day decided that this wasn't what he was meant to do, and started looking around and searching, and found God. And he has now nearly finished his diploma in theology, and he's a fabulous priest and a very strong leader, and has an amazing inner peace and sense of who he is. And I'm sure it's because of where he's come from.
And that needing to trust God and to provide, and which we can take a bit for granted.
Well, definitely, when we have everything.
And you talked about some of the students who perhaps sometimes had to actually stop their studies and maybe go back home and,
Well, most of them rely on international funding to be able to study, and if for whatever reason that funding isn't enough or doesn't come through, then there's no way they can pay the fees. They have to pay 10%, and even that, for some of them, that's the equivalent of $100 New Zealand dollars a year, and for some of them there's just no way they can find that money by themselves.
How do you think, Jesus is pretty direct here, that those who are poor or hungry, or those who weep even, are blessed. How did you see that in the people you met? Because it seemed to really challenge you.
I think it's so true that those who have nothing are in some ways more blessed than we are. They're not distracted by material needs or wealth. They're completely, I don't want to say completely happy with what they have, and they would like to have enough food to survive. But
so we can't romanticise it.
Yes,
really,
we can't romanticise it, but they are so aware of what's really important in life, of family and community and of God.
And their faith, I know some of the short clips you showed us of them dancing in worship.
It's so exciting to see them worship,
yeah.
Especially in their own languages.
Yeah, and that, you know, sort of rejoice in that day and leap for joy, and some of them were actually, literally.
They literally do.
Yeah, we were joking about, we're not sure about that for the choir coming into the cathedral, but
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, but that it really is challenging to us, isn't it? It's sort of quite convicting to us. Yeah, did you find that?
I know that everything I thought I believed was challenged. And I've grown up knowing about the African way of worship and way of life, because my family comes from South Africa. But being there among the people, I realised that I have a very easy faith. It's never really been challenged. I've never had to live in poverty or, you know, the Beatitudes for me, I guess I would come into the second half of woe to you,
well, Jesus didn't pull any punches, did he? I mean,
no.
You know, and it's interesting those woes aren't there in Matthew's version of the Beatitudes, they're just here in Luke. Yeah, but I mean, whether Jesus was having quite a go, really, at maybe the rich and the celebrity sort of... I mean, he was quite a celebrity here. People are flocking, you know, but I wonder if he was having a bit of a go at those who were, you know, I think the crowd sort of loved that.
Yeah, they would have, yes.
Yeah. What do you think the challenge is to us? I mean, of this passage. Now you've come back here. You've got to get used to living back in New Zealand.
I think the challenge is to... for me, I don't think Jesus is saying walk away and get rid of everything. It's be aware of what you have and why you've been given it.
Yeah.
Because the life we live is blessed, and why have you been given this blessed life and not growing up in a mud hut with nothing to eat?
So even in God's own, I think for us, this passage is both a challenge, but also too, I think, a comfort. Yeah. So maybe we've got to take both of those things ahead of us into Lent.
Yes.
Thanks, Gillian.
Thank you.